Get ready for 2 hours of hard-hitting football talk, straight from their jocks about the jocks. It's Football on the Know with Jim and Joe.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Football on the Know. I am Jim McPhee, and alongside me is Mr. Joe DeCapita.
What's going on, Autos? Welcome back for another edition of Football on the Know Show. We are ready to go here. Hey, and by the way, if you're
home.
It's good to be
back.
home. But if you're new to the show, if you love football, if you like to get into it a little bit, buckle your chin strap, head over to Facebook or YouTube. At Football on the Know Show, you can search us up on. Hit that subscribe button along with the notification bell to let you guys know when we go live. And we're also on Twitter at FB_know. Appreciate y'all. Love the support. And let's get into this.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody. Yeah, we're good to be back here. We're excited. We were at Nonola last week in Malta.
Good
We had a
times.
good time there. We met a lot of people there. It was a lot of fun. Watched some football after, and what a game, too. It looked like the Seahawks were kind of looking really to put it to the Rams, and then Russell Wilson goes down with the injury.
How about the uniforms, though?
I did not like the
Seattle
uniforms.
Seahawks with their fluorescent lime green. I don't know what the right color is, but wow, were they bright.
Yeah, definitely.
There was no doubt
of
about it.
But we're back, and we're excited to talk to you guys, and a lot of news going on. Yeah, a lot of injuries this past week.
Yeah, a lot of
and
injuries.
also in the news, we have the John Gruden things, and that's what we're going to talk about first with everybody. And we don't want to get too political. Everybody knows about us here at Football on the Know. We will talk about these hot topics, but we do not like to get all into political things and all this other race debates and things like that. But we're going to touch on this a little bit, give our opinions, and you guys feel free to give your opinion as well. And then we'll move on to some other stuff. But John Gruden, Joe, you are a Raiders fan, so this probably hit you the most, and you had the most to lose, to have it involved in this whole thing. So I'm just going to throw it over to you. When this news hit originally about the original email, when they're now, put it this way, they're investigating Daniel Snyder and the Washington football team.
Exactly.
That whole sexual harassment type of claim here. So they're checking all emails. But it comes out now that John Gruden is in the email loop here, and it comes out with the DeMaurice Smith type of comments that he has here that clearly points out, like, if you don't know the context, it just looks really bad on John Gruden's part.
Right. And the thing was, he called him Dumb Boris Smith.
Which I think is funny.
Which is kind of funny. Like, I understand, like, and then he goes as far as to say, well, like, his lips are the size of Michelin tires. Okay. Well, some people could see. Listen, I get it. I get how some people jump to the conclusion of, well, he's a racist now because now he's making fun of the size of his lips and this, that, and the other thing. But the way Gruden meant when he was saying that, and I'm not defending, like, people that maybe they wanted to view it as racism or whatever, but from Gruden's standpoint, he used that term, and he's used this term before in the past of big lips. He calls people big lips when they're liars, when they're not willing to speak openly, but they keep it behind their big lips. They're not, expressing it out loud. So that's kind of like where he was coming from. And this is going back to when, DeMaurice Smith threatened to have a lockout for the NFL, and Gruden was extremely now, at the time, he was not an NFL employee, everybody. You got to remember that. He was an ESPN employee. He was from the booth and everything. So he might have been a little bit more loose-lipped, to speak about certain situations and things that were arising from the NFL a little bit more and more freely. So he was pissed off about the potential of a lockout and was like, hey, all these coaches work hard, the players work hard. Don't freaking do that. You know what I mean? This is bullshit. Like he was upset, and this is going back 10, 11 years ago. And then throughout time, I guess they found emails saying different things now that we've got more information, anywhere from 2010 to 2018. So most of all these emails, if not all of them, were before he got hired as the Raiders coach. But that doesn't excuse some of the things that he said. And that's the thing is, I'm not defending Gruden and saying everything that he said in those emails, was fine and everything. We should overlook this. No, because what this does show, is that there's still an issue inside the front offices of the NFL. There's still views and points that kind of go along with what Gruden's thought process was as well. And here's the other thing, too, is along with all these emails, what's to say that, like, you know, when you're hanging out with your buddies, if you're going back to the college days, like, I know I've said things like pussy, faggot, this, that, the other thing, and called people that. But that's like, you know, for the most part, like, I'm joking with my buddies and you know, we're making fun of each other, or we're making fun. This happens on a daily, like, throughout America. Like, this is not something new to call someone a name, to make fun of someone. Yeah, is it right? No. But if you're seeing it, and listen, like, I play flag football, and a lot of the guys that I play flag football with, there's a lot of trash talking, and with trash talking, some words may slip out. You might say some things to one another. You know what I mean? So I can almost guarantee you, and here's the other thing that kind of bothers me a little bit, is like everybody's quick to jump on someone that gets in trouble, right? So like Gruden's name comes out from Washington, and they say, oh, he said this, he said that, he said that this person was gay and this guy was queer and this, that, and the other thing. But Gruden isn't the only person that has said these things. And everyone wants to jump on him. Even the people that are talking about Gruden and about how wrong it is for him to say this or talk about Commissioner Roger Goodell, which, I don't know, I kind of thought his comment was kind of funny. I mean, just a little bit. And basically what he ended up saying, he called the NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell a faggot and a clueless anti-football pussy. Because this is all coming from the rule changes of protecting the quarterback and not being allowed to hit him anymore. And you know what I mean? And he thought that the league was starting to shift to being too soft, which a lot of fans did. And that's the thing, you know? I mean, so there's a lot that goes into this, and I get it. You know, Gruden, I'm not saying that he said the right things. I'm not saying that in those emails that we should overlook it. But again, let's take it for what it is. And I understand, like, now he's gone. Let's move past it. You know, he's no longer a coach. He's not going to coach again. He's not going to, you know what I mean? He's not going to be part of the NFL. You know, he's not even going to go back to ESPN at this point because it's just, now he's like tarnished.
Mm-hmm. All right, we've got a couple people in the house. We have Paul Matty's in the house, our boy there. He's chilling from Florida. And he says,
what's going on, Paul?
Gruden made his own bed. Everyone knows anything digital is archived. And he's telling us right here, he gets what you're saying. And Lady Bills is in the house with us tonight.
Hey, there she is.
We got to meet
on,
her.
Lady Bills? Bills Mafia.
Super fan out there. Bill's super fan.
Yes,
and that's
yeah.
an official thing.
Very
like,
cool.
I did not know. She really dropped some knowledge on me about the being an official mascot or a
that whole world of super
the whole world
fandom.
of super fandom. That's right. And it's not just, you know, a word people give to you or whatever. It's an official thing. And there's rules behind it. But shout out to Jamie. I remember your name, Jamie.
That's right,
there you go. So,
Jim, before I want to ask you a question though, because this is something that's kind of, you know, because John Gruden's name out there, right?
Yeah.
They've dealt with it. Situation's done with now. It's going to be hard for the players and coaches to get over it. You know, move past the type of thing. However, I feel like this can go one of two ways for the Raiders. Either this gets them all closer to each other, and they just start grinding and they play well, or it's going to take some time where they're not going to really be all, you know, hitting on all cylinders now going forward in the season. They might struggle for the next few games and potentially might ruin their season. Mm-hmm. But how did this come out? Like, how did this get leaked out? Yeah, somebody had to leak this out because the investigation was in Washington about Washington.
Yeah, it seems like who actually put it out there? Was it
New York
Times?
Times?
New York Times? Yeah. Okay, so it's tough because everybody has an agenda, anyways. And you know what? The hot topic thing is this stuff right now. We haven't heard about it in a few months. I mean, everybody knew when the elections were going on. Again, I'm trying not to get political here, but this is for being part of the media that we are now. I really have a problem with media altogether, with a lot of the way people try to paint a picture here and there and whatever. We try to give you honest opinions. If you don't like it, you don't like it. What if you do? You do. Whatever. It don't matter. We like to value your opinions, whether we agree with them or not.
Right.
That's fine. And that's where we're all about conversations. But when somebody brings this out, it's a hot topic thing. And when they found more, they just dug right back on top of it. Oh, yeah. And whether somebody lost a job about it or not, they really don't care. Unless it was one of their own and things like that. They don't care. It's right there. And the sad thing, though, too, is perhaps the Washington football team had something else to deal with this. Because, again, it's now the thing is turned off of them. You know what I mean? And like Paul says right here, he says, is it interesting how the Raiders are winning and these emails surfaced? And that brings up a great point because I think there is also a meme out there which is bringing up points because I think there's the 30 and 30 about – 30 for 30 about the Raiders and the NFL and the problem that they had with it was the NFL versus the Raiders a lot. Right. And that was all going on behind the lines.
Yeah.
And now this pops up again. Yes, they are winning. They are being fairly successful. And now it just seems like all of a sudden, not exactly a witch hunt, but the focus is off of the Washington football team. For one, was deemed that the Redskins was a racist name, so they were forced to change the name. And now they don't have a name, and they might be happy with just not having a name, much like the people that are just gender neutral. They're happy with just being neutral and whatever I am, they, them, or whatever the F you are. But that's the way Washington football team is. But now, during that whole investigation, it gets moved on to this now. Now the Raiders are in the news because of all this, and now they end up losing their coach. So all the pointing of the blame and all this is now derailed over towards that.
Right.
And yes, I understand. Like everybody that knows me personally, I'm pretty vocal with my opinions, and I do offend a lot of people, and I try not to hurt people's feelings. I guess I just hope that everybody's joking and realize that I am joking the way I do all the time. If you get to know me, that's what I do, and I apologize if I do offend you. I don't mean to, but I do come off abrasive, and I don't want to say no filter absolutely, but I'm pretty out there. If I have something to say, I'll just say it. And so I understand where he's coming from when he says some of these things. Like Joe said, anybody that works in a tight work environment, especially manufacturing that I've done and things like that, everybody shoots the shit like that and says things like that where it's joking around about a lot of different things. The problem is what also with Paul said, these emails are documented. Everybody knows, especially once you write things. Yeah. Especially for John Gruden to do this. It's odd because he was one of those guys that was much like Herm Edwards and said, don't hit send. When you go to tweet and all this other stuff, just don't do it. Don't throw it out there. Don't do any of this. But he happens to break his own rule and do that same type of thing. But maybe amongst a fraternity of guys like you kind of brought up, it's within
and it doesn't
people
stop there.
Of the NFL and things like that. They maybe talk about this together, and have that type of relationship with each other. As far as the Michelin tire lips, I can totally see how that comes across. I mean, it just looks bad. I mean, there could be an explanation for it, but you would have to come up with documentation to show that maybe he has said this before with other people of other races, but it is the current hot topic. But then for the other things to pop up on top of it, the sexist comments about women can't
misogynistic
coach and
comments.
blah, blah, blah. And then, and even the fact, the Roger Goodell calling him names like that, again, we laugh because like, oh, yeah, because nobody likes Goodell and stuff. But again, it's what everybody's talking about. And to seriously flat out call somebody that and make it put in the like the light that it's a bad thing. And that's the thing that what people need to kind of look upon and identify now is that's what I think the narrative people are trying to change with the whole movement that's going on and trying to change their views on things, is the fact that if I call somebody this or something like that, if I say this is gay, I say that a lot too, and I don't mean to be like, oh man, like that's a negative thing.
You're not meaning it that way,
But again, back in the original meaning of being queer and things like that, it's strange. You know what I mean? So I think that if I say that's gay or that's queer, I mean that's the actual meaning of what it is. But looking down and saying as a name or somebody being gay or this and this or that being gay as a negative term, that is trying to be changed now with the way it is, because it shouldn't be a negative thing. That's who I am. Why is that a negative term? And that's why this language isn't acceptable.
Not anymore, no.
And like Paul says here, the coaching good old boy system is dead, and it has to be right now with what's going on, and even all in general. Because when you work and represent a company.
Yep.
Like if I go out, I work with woodworking and stuff like that, and I do finishing. But if I go to somebody's house and I'm working even with a coworker and we're there to try and fix something in their house, I'm not using loose words like that to him and like, oh, did you see this? The other guy, oh, it's totally gay, or this guy's an F, blah 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 blah. You have that certain thing that you already know. Your self-awareness. I mean, they teach this in grade school about self-awareness and what to do when you're out in public and the way you should conduct yourself. And you should really do that. If you're doing it in an email between two other, even teams, they might be your friends or not, but that's during work times and within the NFL circles. Even though he worked for ESPN,
right,
as an associate of ESPN, you still need to carry yourself upon a higher level.
Sure, here's the thing that I'll say about that is, and that's where you start to see this is where Gruden got a little bit more loose-lipped about everything and started to say, because I'll tell you right now, Gruden didn't expect him to take another head coaching job when he was with ESPN. He thought he was done and done, so he felt like he could probably say whatever he wanted and not face any repercussions from it because he's not part of the NFL. And it's not right, but still. And that's where I feel like it's coming from, all these emails now. And here's the thing is, I think Derek Carr, I saw his press conference today, and he said it best. He was like, I think everybody should have their emails open. He goes, I think the NFL should be able to view any email if and only if it has to do with interleague, inside the football league. If it's business and you're sending one team sending it to another team and everything, they might have to monitor or start monitoring emails being sent from team to team or whatever about, or from person to person within the NFL.
I thought they normally should even do that because
they don't.
I mean, I have a work email, and I'm sure at some point some of that stuff has got to be monitored.
But this is the thing is obviously they don't, because they would have already picked up on things. And if you're investigating one team, being Washington right now, and you pick out Gruden's name, and you start looking back at all the different emails Gruden shared with not only Bruce Allen, but also Dan Snyder, and then there was the founder of Hooters was also involved. There's other guys that were involved too, like Nick Reeder, the founder of PDQ Restaurants. I'm not familiar with him at all, but again, he's also included in this circle of emails. Now, look at that. This is such a minute example. This is one team they investigated. If you go and investigate the other 31 teams on emails that they've shared with other coaches, with other teams, with the NFL, even maybe in the NFL's front office, about making fun of a referee, about making fun of a person that come out being gay, about African American, on a certain team, and making fun of certain players and stuff like that. This is so minute right now. This is just Gruden. I guarantee you, this is across the board throughout the NFL, across the board with all these other different teams. There's got to be more than just Gruden. So I fully expect for the NFL, if they're going to pick on, if they're going to go ahead and point at Gruden being the sole guy out of the whole league, you got another thing coming. And this, even former players, Willie McGinnis. Mm-hmm. I saw him come out and speak about this same situation and everything, and he said, and Mike Robinson, former fullback of the Seattle Seahawks, they spoke on this, and they said the same kind of thing. Like, this is Gruden. Okay, we're disappointed. We're a little surprised, but we're not surprised because in the locker rooms we've overheard coaches say some things. In locker rooms we've overheard players say some things, mm-hmm. and this is just one guy out of how many in the NFL that are involved? Like, this is not the end. Like, this is why I think the NFL or the organization as the NFL, they need to now start to, if they found Gruden to be at fault, mm-hmm. Right here you have Dan Snyder and you have Bruce Allen. the GM of Washington. Those guys should be dealt with now, too.
Especially if the sexist remarks are there, too, and they're
Absolutely.
obviously talking about it. And if they were an agreement, then that's a clear
It had to be. Because
evidence right there that right. something has been going on. So.
Because you look at right now, they're reporting Gruden's emails to Washington, to these guys, Bruce Allen and Dan Snyder. You got to know that they sent emails back to him about replying about it. So they got to be dealt with. And then I think now that you've seen just a small example of this, you got to start investigating everybody. Because it doesn't just stop here with just Gruden's emails and Dan Snyder and Bruce Allen. There's got to be others. There's got to be more.
Well, yeah. I mean, like you said, if you just open a different can of worms there. So now if you start to say, now we're trying to clean this up now, locker rooms,
right.
Let it be the organizations or the entity as the NFL as a whole, that would be something that would say, hey, these are all now public, hand them over, which – I can understand that if, again, emails at work through the organization, that works. But as far as personal relationships and stuff, in the locker room, there's different people there. I mean, you have a 53-man roster. So, I mean, there's going to be a lot of different people there. Let me tell you this. You go there, you have whatever music might be playing, when they do practice and workouts and blah, blah, blah. Do you think everybody likes the same type of music? No. Maybe they try to say, hey, maybe can you play some of this? Can you play country this time? Can you play hip-hop? Can you play this? Can you play rock? All this. They get over it. They get through it, and they work out because they don't expect that everybody is exactly the same. And people came from different regions of the country all over. There's still a lot of places that is heavy into believing that, whites are supreme against blacks and other, Latinos and things like that. Badly enough, there is. There's other countries that believe that and enforce it out there. So that stuff exists. It's how we work through it and get through it that it's going to make everything better. But to say that all of a sudden, like you said, I mean, again, it's bad. I think what had to be done was what was done. But it's a thing that happens all the time. And if you wanted to try and clean it up, then you got to hold everybody accountable then too. And yes, this is going to be the one martyr that's going to be on the whole thing here and is destroyed his career because, again, he was, not only the coach, he was an announcer. He had other endorsement deals. We used to see him on the Corona commercials, answering the phones. His whole idea of what everybody knew him as personality is shot. His whole credibility is gone, at least right now.
I say credentials 100%,
because no one will even touch it right now. So he's not going to find another job. He's basically going to retire right now until something does blow over, but I really highly doubt that's going to go on.
Real quick,
sure.
Before I just want to read this one quote from Gruden, and this is in response.
And then we'll get to a couple. We got comments out here with everybody too.
And this is in response to after the other additional emails came out. He told The Athletic that he goes, quote, "I don't know this at that point of my life. 11 years ago or 10 years ago, I'm sure I vented a little bit with my friends about certain things." Gruden told The Athletic on Friday after the email became public. "I know at the time the collective bargaining agreement was changing. There was a lockout going on, or the threat of a lockout, if I can remember. I probably looked at Smith as the villain, and I was really upset. I was really upset that there was going to be a lockout. I felt that Gene Upshaw would never have allowed this to happen. I didn't feel like we were getting the truth. I refer to guys when I see them lying, and I can tell they're lying. I refer to them as rubber lips. I went too far calling him the Michelin lips. I never had a blade of racism in me. I was just pissed and used a terrible way to insult a guy. I called Smith. I've reached out to him, and I haven't heard back from him yet, but I will continue to try." End quote.
All right. Well, there you go. There's the comment there. I'm going to read off a few here. Gaz is in the house with us. He says Mark Davis is next.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
Quite simple. Mark Davis is not next.
Exactly.
Listen, the only thing that and here's the thing too is, I almost kind of want to see where they're going to go moving forward, and this was tough on Mark Davis too, because he absolutely loves John Gruden. He loved his personality and how he viewed football, and he knows that his father, Al Davis, absolutely treasured John Gruden. However, this was a very difficult decision for Mark Davis to, and it was kind of interesting though too. Mark Davis was like super quick to act, like he didn't support John Gruden at all, and try to. And I know that he's gathered as much information as possible to make this decision and whatnot, but I feel like he brought Gruden in his office. They had a conversation, and they knew that going forward, this was a black eye on the organization. This was a black eye in the NFL, because the NFL's been trying to get away from this stigma of racism and inequality and all these different situations that are coming up, and they're trying to move forward. Gay pride and what have you. They're trying to be more positive about everything. So they knew the writing was on the wall, and it was like, all right, well, I guess we have to do this. I'll resign. You don't have to fire me. Whatever. We'll deal with whatever happens after that. So Mark Davis was asked a question. Hey, do you have any comment about this whole situation with Gruden? He said, no comment. He goes, but why don't you ask the NFL? They seem to have all the answers. That was like him basically putting all the blame on NFL on this, not necessarily like blaming them like, oh, you made me do this type of thing, but it was almost like it makes you think maybe he had a conversation with the NFL, with Roger Goodell over the phone, and basically kind of pressured him into talking to Gruden and getting rid of him.
Yeah, because I'm sure he didn't want to, because, again, signing on a whole 10-year deal, like, hey, he's been wanting him back there.
6 years left.
And there you go. And then for it to be interrupted, especially when they're winning, it's kind of tough. But, again, for the moral ground you got to take, it's one thing that had to be done. And then again, doing it the gentleman way out here, you got to resign.
You resign, yep.
It's me firing you. Let's go out that way.
Yep.
let's get back to Mike Tackett in the house.
What was his first? Was this his first comment?
No, I've got the one right here on my phone because we scrolled past it. Here he goes. This is the type of incident that has a potential cause of a major blow to the NFL as a whole. I guarantee you'll see dirt on all 32 teams. Think about the blowback from sponsors if all teams' emails were made public. This runs much deeper than Gruden, whom is the league scapegoat. Like Chris Carter once said, always have a fall guy. And then agreed here by Paul Maddie's in the house. He says he agrees as well. And now let's move on to Mike Tackett's second comment here. He goes, I've been in plenty of locker rooms from high school to college to professionally, from the U.S. to Europe to Asia and Australia. This type of behavior isn't acceptable whatsoever, but people shouldn't act so surprised. If you've been in a locker room, you know. This happens with every team. The nail in the coffin was the fact that this was something that is now on record.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I guess everybody that's been around it, we all know.
Oh, absolutely.
Like we said, we've been on the flag field. Like Joe is in flag football every Sunday and things. And you see it. And me as a coach, I see it. And what's interesting, too, is I even see officials, African-American officials, seeing other African-American players playing and using the N-word back and forth with each other. And he's kind of like, guys, you want to calm down? Enough with this, or I'm even going to do something about throw a flag or whatever. He's like, you guys got to stop.
It happens in flag as well.
Nonstop. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You see it, and they're still talking like that, and it's about each other.
And that's flag.
And he's even saying, like, you guys need to stop this. And he goes, and I'm black. You can't be using this. You know what I mean?
And just like Mike was saying, even going back to my high school days, you know what I mean, and when I was playing football in the locker rooms and everything, that stuff happens all the time. You know what I mean? So and it's not right. Don't get me wrong, it's not right. And there was a lot of times like you could even see, I'm a little older than most right now. I'm 42 years old right now.
Gonna get older in a few weeks. A couple days. 2 weeks, right?
It's a little longer than that. Don't worry about it. But I'm catching up to you.
Yeah, I know.
But
always that year ahead. Damn it.
You're always in the lead.
I know.
But anyway, and back when I was playing, racism was a huge thing. So you could see there was favoritism towards certain players, especially in high school, especially in college and all that. and you could see this happening right before your eyes. And if you were blind to it and you didn't want to see it, like, it's right there. Like, you just open your eyes and you can see it all around you happening, and it's not right. It was wrong back then. It's still wrong, and it will always be wrong. But, yeah, we agree with you, Mike. We know that, something had to be done. This is not acceptable at all to speak that way and to be so – and it's so carefree, though, right? Like, you see some of these guys interacting with each other with emails – and probably even text messaging and anything else that they had at their fingertips. And you're right. This has to go much deeper in the NFL. And I get it. This could be a huge blowout, but it's something that probably has to happen. The NFL is going to take a big fall on this. And as long as they kind of dig a little bit deeper and start doing some more research and investigations. But I don't know if they will. Just like Mike was just saying, like, everyone needs a fall guy, right? Well, maybe Gruden is the fall guy right now, and now now they're going to stop. Like, after Washington's investigation is concluded, which I don't know if it has or hasn't, but after it's concluded, they already got Gruden. You know what I mean? They got Gruden. He's a bad person. This, that, the other thing. Whatever you want to paint the picture with here. Total blame on Gruden. All right, now we solved it. We solved the issue, everyone. Just one guy. That was the problem. No. And that's what the NFL, I feel, is going to do. They're going to stop. As soon as this is done with Washington, Gruden's the fall guy. He's a racist. Label him whatever you want.
It's not even going to be big. Like, I look at the Ray Rice thing. Again, it seems like Ray Rice, the big guy, they end up, being, punished. They got the max, basically. And everybody since then has kind of been, even look at Kareem Hunt is even playing. Still in the NFL.
Yeah, he did the same thing.
Tyreek Hill, it's just a lot of cover-ups there, and he's still playing. So, and it's all just swept under the rug and things like this that you don't see. So I got a feeling, again, we're going to know about some of these, but I think down the road, you're probably going to hear, in other news, this person was found out to say a sexist thing about this. He said a gay term, blah, blah, blah. All right, anyways, let's move on to next week's picks, and it's like,
right.
And it's going to go under it. But I think if you got to say this is what we're looking into and that we see this and that there's a trend, then they need to start going over everything and maybe even just a reminder everybody moving forward that we need to be mindful of what we're doing here and it needs to change. Pending the league outcome is the grounds for owners to vote, get Goodell removed from commissioner, says Mike Tackett. And Paul Matty says, I disagree. More emails from other coaches will be leaked.
Yeah,
let's hope so.
Listen,
and that's what
that's
we're
the
saying.
hope.
Right? That's the hope. So, Paul, absolutely.
That's the hope.
I think some will, hopefully. But again, what you got to look at what the agreement is with everybody, because they can't just all of a sudden start opening everybody's emails and be like, hey, look what we found now here too. You got to have probable cause. They didn't look into these emails for the Washington football team until they already said, oh, there's a claim here about sexual harassment and it's been termed in different places, so they started digging.
But that right there is grounds for probable cause. They found it with one team. They can now maybe start to look at on other franchises. And that's the disturbing part, is because it doesn't stop here. Like, if they – and here's the thing, Paul, like,
well,
if you look at –
ties into Mike Tackett's
if you
comment.
look at the NFL's history, they haven't been the most consistent. I mean, we've ranted and raved about how inconsistent they are with punishments for players with domestic abuse, with illegal, weaponry that they have, abuse, all kinds of things that have happened, drug overdose. I mean, it's just been insane. So when you look back at their history and saying, oh, well, they came down hard on, Ray Rice, that was it. He was kind of pretty much banned, done. You know what I mean? Then you look at the situation with Tyreek Hill, where there was some evidence of threatening his own wife. There was audio evidence, not really for him coming out, but basically breaking his child's arm. At least that's what we're getting from a lot of the reports. And then you look at Kareem Hunt, who basically wanted to stomp a female down to the ground and continue to do so until his posse pulled him back. Like, ill intent to basically knock a female out, and he only got an 8-game suspension. Where Tyreek Hill, with all these threatening messages and everything else about, child abuse or threatening his wife, he got nothing. Basically got no suspension, and he's still playing today. So and then you look at them when the next guy that commits domestic abuse, watch them throw the book at him. So it's like inconsistent on if they're so against domestic abuse and they're so against this, that, and the other thing, it should be consistent. So let's just hope that the NFL follows through with after they get done with Washington. Maybe I'm shocked right now that Dan Snyder and Bruce Allen aren't being reprimanded or anything as of yet. So let's see if they move farther with this.
Right, and Paul's saying here, he goes, I stress the word leaked, not released. He goes, the Gruden emails were leaked, not released, and not leaked to or released to, like, say, public viewing, but I'm sure the NFL, whoever had leaked this out to the media, also had given it to the investigation process. The investigators probably had showed it to Roger Goodell, and they've evaluated and looked at it, and that's when
somebody leaked it out.
They looked into it. So it not only get leaked, it also got turned over to the NFL. So they were able to view it. It's not like, we heard this, it got leaked. Did you see this on ESPN? And we're like, oh man, we should go after these guys then. Going off a hearsay or whatever.
Right.
So this is what we're talking about, and I understand when you said even leaked, not released. They're going to leak some probably again, and NFL's going to investigate like they do with everything. Whenever a news story is even brought to attention, they're like, oh, what's this? So we'll look into it, and we'll investigate on our own. We're going to see what happens with legal matters, too, and that legal type of thing, if that's already officially out. But we'll do our own investigation, too, and deem what we feel is just. And who knows? I know maybe it will, maybe it won't. Let's hope, again, for the world's sake, I guess, at this point, too, that they do clean it up. They talk a big game about right now, especially this season, trying to move forward at everything. Let's inspire change. Well, let's do it now. If this is all coming out, let's bring it all out. Let's talk about it. And that's the thing, too, instead of just trying to, like, well, he's this and he's that and he's that. Well, let's have a conversation. Let's talk about it, all right? Because that's the problem. If you just talk at each other, you're not getting anywhere. So let me hear your side. Let me hear that guy's side, and we'll finish this. We'll get through it together, because that's the only way it happens. You can't just say, "Oh, we're going to eliminate this. We're going to eliminate that. We're going to eliminate this." It doesn't happen that way. A lot of people don't change their minds. A lot of people are set in what they're going to do. The only way you can compromise, and that's what we have to really look at this point, is compromising with one another and learning to get along and trying to better ourselves all together despite our differences. And that's the only way it's going to change. And now looking at the Raiders again real quick, now they've got the special teams coach that's going to be taking over for them.
Yep, Rich Bisaccia.
Ray Bisaccia. Yep.
Rich.
And he and now they are excited to have him now too, because of the players all know him. You know what I mean? So they
all love him.
They all love him, absolutely. And then he even has that little bit, again, has that. He's not a white guy, too. I think that actually helps along with this whole thing, too, as well, and help with the healing with the team and with players and stuff. But maybe we're going to see, first of all, more players coming out about these issues here. But now, how are the Raiders going to react to all this? You said that, I think, I wasn't sure if it was before our show started or not, or even during our show, but I know we did before, because we talk about this.
Sometimes I
you make up great points when you're not on camera.
Yeah,
but
sometimes I vent before the show.
You heard that the players, Gruden might have talked to the players before their game
Thursday,
and when they actually played, they seemed a little off. Nobody was really playing really well, and they end up losing
against the Bears team.
To the Bears, absolutely, who
with
was
a rookie
hungry
quarterback.
For a win.
I mean,
and maybe they're again trying to develop their own reactions, it's a lot on their mind, weighing it through.
Yeah.
So how are they going to react after all of it's said and done, the switch over and play moving forward when this division still is tight and they still have an opportunity to compete in this division?
100%. And you know that this is, listen, the division is up for grabs. The Chargers are in the lead right now, and they deserve it because they've been balling out every single week. Offensively, they've been lighting the league on fire. Defensively, just kind of they're doing what they did like a few years ago when everybody was healthy. So far, the Chargers are healthy, and we're starting to see what they're capable of, especially with their newfound quarterback in Justin Herbert, continuing his success just like from last season. So there's a lot to like with the Chargers. But for the Raiders, this is going to be difficult to get over. And I don't know. I know that the distraction of playing football is going to be good for them because for players, they want to get their minds off of this thing once in a while. Like they do a great job as players to compartmentalize certain situations. And part of the release of whatever you're going through, like anger, frustration, even anything that you're going through in life, football is the ultimate outlet. Like you get to release every emotion out there physically and just take it out on another team. I feel like even like I saw Darren Waller had a press conference. Derek Carr had a press conference. Like a few of the players did, and they said that practice went well. Meetings are going great. They're getting their minds off of this bad situation, and they're moving forward and playing football, which is good for them because this is going to help them get over this whole situation. Moving forward. Listen, there's going to be, internal conversations, player to player, coach to player, whatever, as they go through the season about this situation. But I feel like playing the game of football is going to help them kind of maneuver and get through this terrible outcome that Gruden, the emails that he sent and everything else. So for them to move forward, I feel like it's going to be difficult because now you got Greg Olson once again calling the plays, which may be good, maybe not. You got Rich Bisaccia now as the head coach, and he was the assistant head coach. Mm-hmm. So he was part of some conversations internally because he had that title that kind of maybe helped prepare him to kind of take over this team. So let's see what they do. Let's see what the reaction is going forward. They got a game this week against the Denver Broncos, a division rival. We all know that these games are typically close, and let's see how they respond.
All right, we got Mike Tackett in the house tonight. He says that he went 13-3 last week, which was pretty good. He beat me. I went 12-4, but Joe went 14-2 last week, so he was lights out last week with his picks. So we'll get to them a little bit, and he lists his picks here. And also a shout-out to Greg Schreider in the house with us tonight, too.